Hello, since it is Pride at the moment, / it's kind of over, / it's never over, because Pride is all year round, I thought I would talk about the phrase and the concept and the rhetoric, really, of saying that you are born gay. It's very common and you hear it all the time, but I've always had a little bit of a problem with it. There's something about it that's struck me as kind of wrong, and I finally managed to put my finger on it. So I thought I'd talk about that today. In a nutshell, there's kind of two things that I see as a problem with the idea that you were born gay. And the first of all is that it's incredibly prescriptive about sexuality. It's adding to the idea that there are very definite categories of sexuality, that you are gay, straight, bi, trans, whatever it might be, and that those categories have always been the same and that you will always feel the same way throughout your entire life. So this ignores the idea that sexuality is fluid, which I really do believe. Sexuality is an incredibly subjective human thing. It can change according to hormones or where you are in your life or just on so many things. And it's so based on like emotions and relationships and all sorts of things. I think to try and say that sexuality is this very solid categorical thing is just reductive, really. Especially since I do fundamentally believe that there are very, very, very few people in the world who are 100% and 100% of the time completely straight or completely gay. I just think that ignores the sort of endless complexities and facets of sexuality to try and make it such definite categories. And not only does it ignore how your sexuality might change and how you might want to use different labels as your life goes on, it also ignores the kind of developing or discovery stage of your sexuality. So, I used to identify as bisexual and now I prefer the label gay. I wasn't lying then, and at the time I'd have said I was born bi, but now I would say I was born gay, and I wasn't wrong at either time, but then that doesn't work, because if you're born something, it implies that it's a solid throughout your life. Essentially, I think that the rhetoric of being born gay is playing into the kind of the boxes and the labels, and by saying that you're born gay, you're not just put in a box, you're born into a box, which means it's then very difficult to leave that box. So with all of this in mind, it kind of makes it very difficult to explain sexuality and help people understand it a bit better. If you're trying to justify to someone that sexuality is not a choice and that it is an inherent thing, then that's, obviously that is valid, and I'll come back to that in a second. But then the person can turn around and be like, well, they were saying that they were born this way, but now they're born that way. And it's like, it makes it harder to sort of justify and explain it if you try and imply that sexuality is a consistent thing. What's happening is what they were born as, which is meant to be a sort of, who you are inherently, has changed. And if it changes, then that's not how you were born, and then it just kind of it basically creates a confused narrative. And that's why I don't feel comfortable with the idea that you were born gay, because it's saying that you were born a certain way and that things aren't changeable or that you can't discover new things about yourself. It makes the labels too prescriptive and too definite, and I think in the long term that kind of does us a disservice, because it makes it harder to persuade and to explain and justify if how people were born changes. But with all of that said, I do appreciate a lot that it is an incredibly important rhetoric historically. It has been used extensively and I think effectively in terms of helping people and society understand the lack of choice in your sexuality, and that it's not sort of a lifestyle, and that it's who you are. And by saying that I disagree with the term or the idea that you were born gay, I'm not saying that it's not who you are. I 100% think that it is who you are. But given that that's changeable, and then the rhetoric tends to fit into this kind of, you're born into a label and you're born into a box, it just makes it harder. So if you like to use the rhetoric that you're born gay, then that's completely fine. I mean, let's face it, Lady Gaga's Born This Way is one heck of a gay anthem. But I just think we need to be careful around kind of prescribing these things. I hope that's made sense. But also let me know your thoughts, because I think it's interesting, because it is such a common phrase to say that you know, some people are born gay, get over it. I mean, that was an entire campaign from, I think, Stonewall. It's really common rhetoric, but I also think it's, in the long term, it's doing us a disservice. But I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. Do you feel comfortable with the phrase? Do you just use it because it's the easiest way of explaining how sexuality is not a choice? I don't know. I think it's an interesting topic, so let me know. I hope everyone, by the way, London Pride was last weekend. I hope that everyone had a really good time. I wasn't able to go. I made a sign and everything. Look, it's so big I can't fit on the screen. I had this side as well. I didn't get to use it because I couldn't go to Pride. Next year, I swear to God, I'll go to Pride if it kills me. I think that is everything I wanted to say. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments and see you later.